Hi, I'm Nicole.
And I'm Leah.
Welcome to the Author Narrator Sessions, where we take you behind the scenes of the Song of the King's Heart trilogy audiobooks. Today, we're going to talk about our favorite characters. When we write characters, when we create characters, you have to sort of, I say, date them in order to know them. And so I'm interested because there are lots of them that I love. There are some that I hate. There are some that have to be there, so you hate them. And so I would love to know from you, Leah, who were your favorite characters to narrate?
So there are many to choose from, I'll say that. This is a story that has many characters. And in your books, there are a lot that represent two sides to a coin. There's light and dark. And so oftentimes I was attracted to either both of them, especially if they reveal the lightness or the darkness of the other. Um, but I also liked how energies would shift in different chapters. And so, for example, Natasha, that character, her voice is the most like mine. And I did that intentionally. Um, as we had said in a previous video about there's a feminine voice and she's the twin flame of Ankh-Makis, I wanted it to be the easiest for me to perform. And so I
Okay.
just thought maybe, and as it happens, the book came into my life when I was going through a lot of change. And every once in a while, when I would either read it or to myself or narrate, I would find that she was going through something that I was going through at the same time. And I would sometimes turn the page, go, is it going to be a little bit of fortune telling? I don't know. And so there was this relationship that I had with Natasha, both in the voice and what I was going through, that I think that was definitely one of my favorites. And then there were others that I just loved the energy that they brought in through the written word or through the story. So there's something about Isidore and he's just strong character. Yes, he represents a dark side, but I just liked anytime he came on the page, I just thought something's going down. And I was just really excited. And to the opposite of that, Nefa, I loved playing her because she was, I would say, 99.9% right. And so I just, don't you love playing a person who's like, no,
Yes.
I'm going to tell you what it is. And I just loved that feminine strength, power, and wisdom I loved playing her. Some other characters that just would be sprinkled in that just brought light to me. Bastira, the midwife, she was a joy. Um, she's got some hidden specialness to her that I just love when she comes on the page. It's like, oh, she's gonna mix something up. And then I
Sassy one.
loved I loved Ankh-Makis's friend Min. There was just something about him when he came on the page. He's like that loyal friend that will also, in a very succinct way, probably through the nature of their relationship, just tell you when you're off track. Everybody needs that friend to be like, in very short way of like, no. And then lastly, there's something about Senman's story and arc that I'm gravitated toward. He's on his own path in the stories, and um, it's just a different journey. And there's just something about him that I'm always rooting for. And so it's whether you call it a favorite or just drawn to, that for sure. What about you?
Well, obviously, I love Ankh-Makis and Natasha because I spent most of my time with those two. And I love them each for different ways. And I feel like if I were to be one person, like the male in me and the female in me, and that was their point, like they're not from me, but when I read them, I feel complete in a certain way. And I think that's just because of what they represent. And they are two sides to the same coin on a certain level. There are, I would agree with Min too. And so one of the things that I as an author, someone like Ankh-Makis is a historical figure, and then someone like Natasa is fictional, and I have to bring them together. And they told me their story. That was given to me. But when I was creating Min, Ankh-Makis, I mean, everyone has every prince and king has a captain of the guard, has somebody, their main bodyguard, the one who's in charge of everyone else. And as I developed him, he's actually, a lot of him is based on a real life person I know. So this is true that these things happen. Like when you know a writer, sometimes you show up on the page. And I think it's safe enough to disclose that my friend Jeffrey, often when it's like, what would Jeffrey do? Because Min needed to do something. He's in a scene. Ankh-Makis needs him. What would Jeffrey do? And so he's definitely based on a character in real life, whereas most of these characters are not. And I would say that Nefa, also known as Neferu Ankmat, the high priestess, she also comes in. I mean, I love her. She's the high priestess who you always need a high priestess in Egypt, and you need one in your life. And I definitely have a high priestess in my life named Reagan. And so there is a bit of her for sure in Nefa, especially when, you know how she's right, but she has to deliver it. That often I would be like, how would Reagan deliver this news in that respect too? But for the most part, everyone else came to me, and I love them. And I love Senmen, who becomes Chanix. His path is a dark one. He is the contrast to Natasa. He's another side to a coin when they come together. And he is only going to continue through the second and the third book to his path, and Ankh-Makis's paths are not ones that can both exist together. And that's where the main tension comes between those brothers. But there's no story without Chanix.